Straight ahead on Scripps News live team coverage as dramatic video of a violent encounter with police is expected to be released tonight. What we know about the case and what could be in the video that is expected to be released now in under an hour, we're being told. Plus, an in-depth look at the special unit those officers were assigned to, the Scorpion Unit, what it was formed to do. I'm Del Walters in Atlanta. Welcome to Scripps News Live. Tonight, all eyes are on Memphis, Tennessee. In about an hour, the police, the local DA, and others plan to release a body cam video that has been described by everyone from the chief of police on down as horrific. That video showing 29-year-old Tyre Nichols being beaten by 5 black police officers who were with the Memphis department. Nichols was arrested nearly 3 weeks ago after a traffic stop. That violent attack that followed was so severe, he was hospitalized and died from his injuries 3 days later. Today, his mother describing the grief of knowing his last words were pleas for her to help.
I was telling someone that I had this really bad pain in my stomach earlier, not knowing what had happened. But once I found out what happened, that was my son's pain that I was feeling. And I didn't even know. But for me to find out that my son was calling my name and I was only feet away and did not even hear him, you have no clue how I feel right now. No clue.
It has been a trying day. We want to go now to Alex Del Carmen. He is a professor and associate dean of the School of Criminology at Tarleton State University. He joins us now from Arlington, Texas. Professor, thanks for being with us. With all of the fallout after the killing of George Floyd, how is it now that we are still seeing cases of what appears to be excessive violence on the part of police?
Thanks for having me, Dale. Well, I think what we see now is a continuation of what we saw a few years ago with George Floyd and even before that, right? So it goes to show you that we have a heck of a lot more to do in police reform as it relates to training, as it relates to the recruitment of potential police officers, more important, as it relates to the accountability that police officers should have to their supervisors and to civilians at large.
What does it say about the state of civil rights in this country when even 5 black men are caught beating another black man? Do mothers of black children and fathers of black children now have to warn their kids about black police officers as well?
You know, I think what this is going to do is change the rhetoric across the United States, whereas before it was really a very specific concern on white police officers. And there were people that thought that somehow if you were a minority police officer, you were immune from engaging in an excessive use of force, as we saw in this case. I've been saying it for years that the issue on police brutality, it doesn't really have a color per se on the individual that is the aggressor, meaning that poorly trained police officers and individuals that decide to violate the civil rights of others come in different sizes and in different colors. And sadly, in this case, it hurts twice when you see that we minorities are being victimized by minority police officers.
Professor, we hear it over and over again that police are there to serve and protect. Who are police serving and who are they protecting in society?
Look, Dale, I will tell you that I know, and I've been involved 25 years as a law enforcement expert, even before it was a noticeable, issue to contend with, right? But I will tell you that I've met thousands of police officers, and most of them are honest, decent, hardworking people. Unfortunately, we have a handful of individuals that should have never joined the profession. They should have never been police officers, and they certainly should not be armed with a badge. And what we need to do is simply make sure that those individuals are out of this noble profession and ensure that in the future we recruit police officers that are going to have the civil rights of people in mind.
We used to think that the body cameras would be the solution, that officers, knowing that they were wearing a camera, would act differently. Just about every case we have been seeing lately has involved body cameras. So what does it say that police, knowing they are videotaping themselves, would act like we are hearing the officers in Memphis acted like?
Well, what it says is the fact that somehow in their head they have discontinued the practice of being observant to the fact that they have a body cam on. Secondly, I would argue that it's really scary that this is what they do when the body cam is on. Imagine what they do when the cameras are not rolling. And thirdly, I would argue that the presence of those body cameras is the reason why we're having these conversations. For in the absence of them, it would be sort of a mystery as to what would have happened to this, the rhetoric or the story that we would have been told in this particular case about Mr. Nichols.
Professor, final question before I let you go. What does it say about the thin blue line when time and time again we hear from civil rights attorneys and families and city leaders, but we don't hear from the fraternal orders of police? We hear so many times that the bad apples need to be sorted out. But if the fraternal orders of police aren't getting rid of the bad apples, who will? Who is?
That's a great point, Dale. And I'm really discouraged by the fact that the fraternal order of police, in this case of the Memphis Police Department, hasn't come out vigorously, decrying what they have seen, right? So even though we understand that the thin blue line is meant to protect each other and that the police officers have a harsh reality that very few people understand, in these cases where you see a clear beating of an individual that is both unlawful as well as goes against every policy in modern policing, they should have come out vigorously and condemned it. They would have gained a great deal of legitimacy before the public and before those individuals that are oftentimes skeptics of police reform and police actions. A great deal of credibility they would have gained by virtue of that, and it's just sad that they haven't done that yet. I'm hopeful that they will.
Professor, thank you very much. Alex Del Carmen is the Associate Dean and Professor of Criminology at Tarleton State University. Professor, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.